Hey, I'm Deontay Jenkins, and here's what's on my mind. Jaws. Let's break down some scenes. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give this video a like if you like what's going on. You can check out my latest short film here, and if you want, you can check out some of the other videos I have on this channel. It'll be fun, I promise. And now that that's out of the way, Jaws. One of the greatest films of all time. It's the film that started the summer blockbuster. Steven Spielberg crafted the film so good that it made people afraid to go to the beach. Now, of course, this film was riddled with problems, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about some of the great things that came out of it. And we're going to do that by breaking down scenes. Now, there is no one, and I mean absolutely no one, in the history of cinema that can move the camera as well as Steven Spielberg. He is the master of movement. What he likes to do is combine multiple smaller shots into one large master shot. And he does that by using camera movement. But the important part is the principle of combining shots to make something larger. And he does so in this scene right here. The scene starts out tracking Chief Brody, showing his concern. It goes into a multi-person cowboy shot. Just by the composition of this image, you can see that the mayor here has the power. Notice how it looks like everyone's backing up the mayor because of the staging. He's the center point and they're his backup. And you can see that Chief Brody's back is against the wall and trying to convince them to do what's right. But what's really interesting here is it feels like the camera is moving, but it's locked down. And that's because the barge that they're on is moving through the water. Kind of a throwback to this shot from Bridge Over a River Kwai, just with a little more style. A brilliant way to show motion without actually moving the camera. But then, just by moving the characters, we go into a medium shot. And we know by the conversation that something very secretive is happening. And that's because everyone else's back is turned to them. And they've gotten closer to the camera. Essentially, Steven Spielberg punched in with a different shot, but he did so without cutting. But through the composition of this back being turned and this back being turned, and the fact that we're now closer to the subject, we can see that conversation has taken a change and has become more secretive. Even further than that, we go into this two shot. Now look here. Everyone is facing the opposite direction. This is symbolically saying everybody's turning their backs on what's right, represented by Chief Brody, for what's convenient for their pockets. It's almost as if they know what they're saying and doing is wrong, but they're turning their backs towards us so that they don't have to deal with the consequences. As the conversation gets more and more important, the subjects get closer and closer to the camera. Meanwhile, the background actors turn their backs to us, making us focus in on Chief Brody and the mayor. All of this is done with composition and moving the subject. Spielberg is telling us everything that we visually need to know about the story and where it is right now, to the point where if we watch this with no sound at all, we'd still get the exact same impression. Watch here. It looks like they're ganging up on Chief Brody. Here, it looks like the conversation has become more serious and secretive. And here, it looks like it progressed even further, all the while having the background actors ignore the audience, just like they're ignoring the shark issue. Now that's masterful storytelling, but it goes even further than that. In the very next scene, we see Steven Spielberg step his game up a bit. Watch here as Spielberg gives us all the information we need to know. This kid in the red shorts is important. His mom is important. Why is Spielberg showing us this? Well, we're going to see in a few minutes. But notice the colors that he used to make them stand out against the rest of the crowd. This yellow and red makes them pop against the background. Now the camera tracks the kid all the way over to Chief Brody. Why does it do that? Well, because this kid is what Chief Brody is concerned about. The safety of the families and the people that are on the beach. So we watch this kid walk all the way to Brody, all the way to his head. And it's almost as if the kid jumps inside of Brody's head here. Almost like Spielberg is saying the worst things in Brody's head is happening here, and this kid is representative of it. Now the focal point is on Chief Brody. Now all of this is building suspense. We know there's a shark out there. We see the dog jump in the water, and we see the kid jump back in the water. Now the suspense is building. Two things that'll easily build suspense for your audience. Seeing a child in danger and seeing an animal in danger. We don't care about adults, but kids and animals, that's where our hearts are. Now look at this sequence of shots to show Brody's paranoia. He's focused in on the water, and these cuts are making us get closer and closer to him, letting our paranoia and our fears build with his. Now Spielberg throughout the scene keeps showing us people on the water. Some of them last for a really long time. That's because we know what's under the water and we can see the danger. So showing us these people without a care in the world is making the audience's concern for them go higher. And watch this sequence of shots. feeding again into the paranoia that Brody has. With clever editing techniques, having a subject wipe the screen in order to show us Brody and what Brody's looking at. Doing this builds the suspense way more than just cutting back and forth. Spielberg builds the tension by showing us something in the water, and then releases the tension by showing us it's just an old man. And then cutting back to Brody, he shows Brody's tension being released as well. So remember that shot where the kid was tracked across the beach and climbed into Brody's head? That's exactly where the audience is. We, like the kid, jumped right into Brody's head for this scene. Now we're feeling exactly what he's feeling, and we can see that through his reaction shot, but also the way Spielberg designed and edited this scene. All the anxiety, all the worries that Chief Brody is feeling, we are feeling as an audience as well. When he's concerned, we're concerned. When he's relieved, we're relieved. And all of that is done through the cinematic techniques, camera movement, shot selection, and editing. From the beginning of the scene, we know a shark is coming. We know that someone is going to be attacked. It's just a matter of when and who. So he plants little things. Could it be the dog? Could it be this lady on the water? Could it be his own son? He gives us a bunch of different leads, a bunch of different people to tack onto to see if these are the people that are going to be attacked. As it turns out, the way the scene starts is the way the scene ends. The kid in the red trunks is the one that we needed to be paying attention to. We can see here, at the end, his mom is looking for him. And he's nowhere to be found. These scenes are brilliantly crafted and visually tell us the entire story. A great film can be watched even with the sound off and you still will know what happened. That's what these scenes prove. Yes, they have sound, but even without the sound, you can tell exactly what is happening in each one of them. Even through all the conflict that's happening on set, Spielberg manages to craft scenes like these ones. Scenes full of suspense and character development and character interaction. We know exactly what's happening and exactly why it's happening just by the way Spielberg places the camera, makes his cuts, and moves the camera. And that's something that every filmmaker needs to be able to do. We need to be able to craft a story with the images first. Jaws is a great example of that. You can study this film and learn almost everything you need to know about visual storytelling. That's why Spielberg is one of the greats. He's a craftsman that always puts the visuals first in his story. If you learn nothing else from Steven Spielberg or Jaws, learn that. Learning visual storytelling is your first step to becoming a master. But then again, what do I know? Thanks again for watching this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you drop a comment down below if you have anything that you want me to do a video on. Be sure to share this video with your friends and keep telling stories, people. I'll see you next time. Peace.